Well, this is interesting. Yesterday, we get conflicting reports about our guy Kyrie Irving and when he might return to the basketball court. One report is from ESPN. The other is directly from our head coach, Jason Kidd's mouth. We're going to dive into what both of those reports say and ultimately land on who we believe more. But in the meantime, guys, we won last night. I was wrong. We're going to talk through kind of what the game looked like last night. We're now the proud owners of a 4-game winning streak, our longest win streak of the season. I remember doing a pod a couple months ago, it was fresh off of our third game of our 3-game win streak. And I was like, when are we going to see one of those again? Well, here we are, end of January. The Mavs are hot. That carried into last night's game against the Golden State Warriors. So, we're going to talk about all of that jazz. And then, Kyrie Irving, very much been foaming at the mouth to have something to talk about related to him. Now we have it. And, more stuff on AD, more stuff on the trade front. We got kind of a packed agenda today. And let me just quickly say happy Friday, Mavs fam. I hope you're feeling good about the 4-game win streak. I mean, that's all we've got right now. I am your host, Ethan, the advisor Clayton. Welcome to the party. And by party, I mean a dope podcast. This is Your Mavs, a Dallas Mavericks podcast where all are welcome. Y'all better behave. All right, let's dive in. Let's do it. Want to start by saying thank you. Yesterday, I was called out in the comment section over kind of some sloppy work on my part. My bad, guys. I said yesterday that we were going to be playing on the road in the Chase Center when, in fact, we were at the AAC last night. Here's the story, guys. I have this giant calendar in my work-from-home office / podcast studio. And on this big calendar, I have marked every game, every Mavs game for the rest of the season, and I have it color-coded based off of home and away. I even have put what my predictions are for whether we're going to win or lose. And that's where a lot of these you heard it here first come from. I spent quite a bit of time putting all that together, analyzing, where things could go for the rest of the season. I started, just with the month of January. Anyway, don't let me get on a side tangent here. I color-coded yesterday's game incorrectly as an away game. Thank you for calling me out about that in the comment section. But let's talk about last night's game. It was, in fact, a fun game. I didn't think it would be very exciting. It's a couple of play-in at best types of teams, especially, now that the Warriors have lost Jimmy Butler. They were greatly exposed last night that they need a solid number 2 scoring option. They just don't have any sort of offense that can be generated whenever Steph Curry is off the floor. Now, quick side note on that. And I'm stealing this from Kirk Henderson over at Mavs Moneyball. The Mavericks won the Steph Curry minutes last night. So when he was on the floor, we kicked their tails. But for some reason, whenever he was not on the floor, we had a negative plus-minus. Don't ask me to make sense of that. I don't have the energy or the desire to do that. But listen. We kind of kicked their tails last night, and I liked what I saw from our squad. They're always going to play hard. There was a lot of running back and forth. It wasn't necessarily a good shooting night for either team. So, let's kind of dive into more of the specifics. I'll kind of read through some of my notes from last night's game, and then we'll talk a brand new segment, the advisor box score. How did I do with my You Heard It Here First yesterday? Spoiler alert, not very good. But kind of notes from last night. It was a really fun first half. There's a lot of blocks, turnovers, fast breaks, dunks, offensive rebounds. Very poor shooting. Combined in the first half, the Mavs and the Warriors shot 26% from the three-point line. It was 12 of 46. Again, it wasn't that type of game for either team, but there were still other ways, plenty of other ways that people were scoring. In the first half, Cooper Flagg had 11 points, 9 rebounds with the plus 17 on the plus minus. He was super impactful on both sides of the ball. Really fun start to the game. I told you that he was going to posterize Draymond Green with a dunk. That didn't happen, but literally the first Warriors offensive possession, he like ends Draymond's life with a devastating block. It was really fun to watch. And then he did posterize somebody in that game. I don't know if you guys saw that put back dunk that he put Quentin Post on a poster. It was a poster. That's fun to say. Also in the first half, Max Christie had a team high plus 23 on plus minus. Guys, we have such a gem in Max Christie, and every game I'm blown away by something else that he does. Last night, he looks like the best player on the court besides Steph Curry. Like, I'm not even playing with you. He didn't have an insane scoring night. He didn't do anything like any one thing that popped. But holy cow, we are so much better with him on the floor than we are with him off. And that starting lineup, shout out Dwight Powell, that starting lineup has been incredible. So I think we're going to continue running with that. But I cannot say enough about Max Christie. I cannot say enough about Najee Marshall. Wow. And there's been a lot of smoke lately about other teams being interested, particularly title contenders being interested in Najee Marshall. You better blow me away with whatever you're offering, because yesterday's price is not today's price. Holy cow, what a player. He ended the game with 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists. What a showing. Overall, just from both teams, it was an ethical basketball game. There wasn't a whole lot of nonsense going on until there was a little stretch in the fourth quarter where we saw a few cheap shots from Draymond Green. But listen, guys, Draymond's going to Draymond. I didn't take it personally. It didn't lead to any fights. I was wrong about him getting a technical foul. To be fair, he did foul out. So the refs weren't really letting him get away with anything. But it wasn't a game full of like foul baiting. It wasn't players just spamming the one thing that they're good at over and over to score. It was a balanced attack all across the board, ethical hoops. And let me just say this real quick. I've already shouted out Max Christie and Najee Marshall, but guys, I just want to reiterate. Our team is full of ethical hoopers. Najee literally is the most ethical hooper I've ever seen, right? He's not a great three-point shooter, so he literally finds every other way to contribute to the game, especially on the offensive side of the ball. He's incredible. Cooper Flagg, ethical hooper. Some people might argue that he gets a pretty decent whistle from the refs even as a rookie, but it's because he's attacking constantly. He's not just doing one move over and over. He's like he'll go for an action, then kind of get stood up, and he'll do something else. Guys, he adapts so quickly, and he gets the ball in the hoop ethically. Max Christie does the same thing. Brandon Williams, same thing. No flash, no pizzazz, no spamming the same thing over and over, no only hitting three-pointers. It was just, guys, I really kind of like this team. How about that? It was a tight game through 3 quarters. We went into the fourth down by 5. So, I predicted that we were going to lose 118 to 111, and I'm going into that fourth quarter thinking that my prediction was just dead on. I'm happy to be wrong. But the Warriors had a strong third quarter, kind of put us in a position where we needed to fight back hard in the fourth quarter. And we did. By the way, Pods or Pajimski, whatever they call him over there, he's annoying to watch. Like, he didn't do anything wrong, but he's not fun to watch. I hope we don't accidentally trade for him. I say accidentally because, there was the reports about the, trade conversations around Jonathan Kuminga. And I'm like, I hope we don't strike out on Kuminga and then wind up with Pajimski on our roster. I don't like watching him play. Anyway, something I thought was a really crucial turning point in the fourth quarter. We shot 10 of 11 from the free throw line. That is way above average for us. And all the way up into the till the fourth quarter, we were not shooting the ball well at all from the free throw line. I think we were like shooting 60% from the free throw line. Then the fourth quarter happens. I told you there were a lot of Draymond Green cheap shots. We got to the foul line a fair amount in that fourth quarter, and we hit almost every one of them. This was fun. There was a Bigfoot sighting in the fourth quarter, and by Bigfoot sighting, I mean just something that you would never, ever see. It's incredibly rare. Steph Curry airballed a three-pointer. It was pretty wild to see. And yeah, I'm a believer in Bigfoot. That's a hill I'm willing to die on, fam. Another fun thing from last night, and then we'll move on. before the game, Jason Kidd said that Cooper Flagg was going to be limited or restricted to 20 to 25 minutes. Guess what? For the second game in a row, he exceeded his minutes restriction. He played 30 minutes last night. So I don't know why we would even bother communicating a minutes restriction. Like, nobody's telling us we have to do that, but we're communicating it and then breaking our own rules. Make it make sense. Moving on. Yeah, let's talk about the Kyrie Irving stuff. That was obviously we want to talk about the basketball stuff first, and then we'll wrap it up talking about some of the fun rumor mill stuff. Let's do it. Let's start with the Kyrie Irving stuff. That's, to me, the juiciest of all of it. So midday yesterday, I guess it was from the Howdy Partners podcast. At some point, y'all are going to get tired of me like even mentioning Tim McMahon on the show. It's okay. I'm just taking what I get at this point. He said that the Mavericks are having conversations with Kyrie Irving about delaying his return to the court. Basically, like, homie's not coming back this season. And, immediately kind of makes your heart sink a little bit. Like, Kyrie has worked so hard to get his body back in shape so that he could come back this season. I wouldn't want to be the one to tell him, like, hey, listen, man, let's talk. Let's talk. You're not playing this year. I really wouldn't want to be the one to tell him that. But there's, of course, on the surface level, that is the right thing to do for a tanking team. It is the right thing to do to not rush back a 33-year-old from a devastating knee injury. Like, don't misinterpret what I'm saying here. It was disappointing to hear, but like, I get it. No big deal. And by the way, this was probably my favorite part of yesterday. That report comes out, and you know who takes that really, really personally? Utah Jazz fans. It was so funny to me. They're like, well, who's tanking now? The NBA needs to investigate this. I'm like, let's pause for a second. We want to compare a team that is the poster child for blatant tanking to a team that may extend the timeline for a devastating injury return. I think that's utter nonsense. Maybe they were just trolling, but I thought it was really, really funny that Jazz fans were like, no, this is egregious stuff. Anywho, so that came out midday. Then before the game, there was the pregame press conference. Jason Kidd was specifically asked about Kyrie Irving returning, and he kind of gives this long, I don't know that there was a whole lot of good takeaways from that, but he mentioned there's not a timeline right now. There will be a timeline for return after the All-Star break. So the timeline could be he's out for the rest of the season that they announce after the All-Star break. So, that was part of the quote. He said, it's a little bit different practicing and returning to an actual game. So when it comes to knee injuries like this, it's just a time thing. And I'm like, yeah, again, you're saying all the right things. This is, something that we've kind of had in the back of our minds the entire season. Like, does it make sense for Kyrie to return at all? But Jason Kidd did offer positivity that, like, there's a chance that we see him play after the All-Star break. But then he said something that I thought was really, really interesting that I don't want to dive too deep into like the subtext or like trying to figure out what he could have meant. But he's like, he said, there's also other plans that could come into play related to Kyrie's return. What other plans are you talking about? Did you just say the quiet part out loud? Is there a trade or two brewing? It has felt like the entire season that the reporting is that Kyrie and AD want to play on the court together. So if it's announced that AD is out for the rest of the season, does that impact whether or not Kyrie wants to return this season? That could be what Jason Kidd was talking about. But, again, you get this long bunch of nonsense, non-answers, and then he kind of throws that little tidbit in there. I think he's such a troll. He had to know that everybody was going to lose their minds over just those few words. There's also other plans that could come into play. Like tanking, trading. Tell me more. I know he's never going to expound upon that quote, but it's just something that just conflicted completely with the McMahon report that they're going to have conversations about him not returning this season. So I don't know who you want to believe more. I'm going to lean more towards Jason Kidd, believe it or not. I'm going to lean more toward what he has to say, because he sees what he sees the work that Kyrie's putting in every day. Like, that is, rehabbing has been Kyrie's full-time job for he got hurt March of last year. So we're coming up on 11 months. And so, and Jason Kidd has also gone through injuries before. He understands how all this works. Tim McMahon is a talking head. So you take that with a grain of salt. Moving on, another really fun part of yesterday, there were, some more AD reports. Let's talk about those. So the first report related to AD yesterday, again, from ESPN. Take it with a grain of salt. It's not real until it comes from Stein's mouth. Anyway, the report is that Rich Paul has demanded that AD be traded by next week. Come again? Like, by next week? The deadline's not until February 5th, but you need him traded by next week for what reason? So, yeah, that was kind of a shock and awe moment for Mavs fans, just innocently scrolling the Twitter feed. And, it's so crazy, like all the posturing that I've seen happening here at the trade deadline. Like, that wasn't really something that I would consider out of the realm of possibility of what Rich Paul or Clutch Sports would say. They've done it before, right? Like, where they've said, get my client out here immediately. Like, they've done that kind of thing. So I was like, that's believable. But next week, what are we talking about here? Then an hour later, again, an adult enters the room. Mark freaking Stein. He comes in and he owns ESPN. I loved this tweet. This tweet in particular said, coverage of the actual AD latest can be found here. And he included a link to the Steinline report. The truth is, according to Mark Stein, no such request was made. Like, none whatsoever. And it makes no sense, again, because the trade deadline is February 5th. And that report said that he needed to be traded by next week. Mark Stein's like, pump the brakes. It didn't happen. It's not true. If you want real news, here it is. Just follow the Stein line. So I love Mark Stein so much. And hopefully a lot of you are starting to see that there are maybe 2-3 sources of news that you can like really, really trust. Like, sometimes Shams Charania will tweet out something and I'm like, that's probably true. But then like an hour later, Mark Stein will come out and then confirm. I'm like, okay, so that's really true. Or Mark Stein will be like, actually, no, that's not. Here's what's actually happening. I'm just starting. That's my biggest takeaway of the trade deadline season so far. Is just it's not real if it doesn't come from Mark Stein. My second takeaway, and this is just totally separate from what we were just talking about, this like second apron CBA stuff really has everyone across the NBA up in arms. Like, if you have the hobby that I do of like trying to cook up like trade machine ideas, you're starting to see there are so many teams that like they can't trade directly with each other because they're either already capped, like hard capped, or they have just a little bit of room, so they can't really take in more salaries than they send out. And so that complicates the equation. Like, do we need to have a third or fourth team involved so that we can like figure out a better way to match salary? That's not something I've ever paid that close of attention to, but it's kind of fun. So yeah, those are kind of the big reports that happened yesterday. Again, Kyrie Irving could return after the All-Star break, or the Mavericks could be having conversations with him about not returning at all. I believe Jason Kidd whenever he says there will be a timeline that comes clear after the All-Star break. The AD stuff back and forth. Again, guys, just don't take it as gospel truth until you hear it from Mark Stein. That's the biggest message I have for you. And I almost forgot when we were talking about last night's game against the Warriors, I forgot to throw in the new segment called the Advisor Box Score. So really quickly on yesterday's pod, I did 4. You heard it here first. The first was that Cooper Flagg was going to posterize Draymond Green with a dunk. That didn't happen. The Advisor is 0 for 1. I said that posterization, that dunk over Draymond Green would cause a technical foul and a little bit of an altercation. I'm 0 for 2. I also said that this would be a Daniel Gafford showcase game because the Warriors have shown interest in him before, and he was questionable to return. He didn't play. It was not a Daniel Gafford showcase game. The advisor is 0 for 3. And then I said that we would lose 118 to 110, 111. I can't remember the exact score that I said, but that didn't happen either. So guess what? The advisor was 0 for 4 from the field last night. We're gonna have to get back in the lab, work on form and all of that, and we'll come back better next game. Okay, how's that sound, fam? But that is all I have for you today. I know a lot of you are waiting with bated breath for the Saturday night game against the Lakers. I'm hoping that doesn't get postponed because of all the winter weather that is coming, basically the entire country's way. But don't let me quit recording without saying, everybody, please stay safe, stay warm. Sounds like it's going to be really icy in Dallas. There's no need for you to be like driving around on the road with that much ice. So just be careful. Make sure you have everything you need. And as always, be good and party on.